Well, hey folks, in breaking news, as I prepared to release this video, word has come down that 3 people have been charged in Liam Payne's death. It's now a murder, including the hotel worker. The pop star died after falling from a 3rd-floor balcony from his hotel, and if you'll remember, he had more than 25 bones broken in his body, and his body was filled with illegal narcotics. The suspects have been charged with abandonment of a person followed by death, as well as supplying and facilitating narcotics. But this is kind of weird. The Argentinian National Criminal and Correctional Prosecution's Office hasn't released the defendants' names. But according to their press release, Payne was not fully conscious when he fell off and died. I guess maybe that's some piece of consolation that maybe he didn't experience that horror in real time. Hey, but in this video, I'm going to explore the case in more detail and talk about what's just happened, because it's supported by the theories I talk about in the video. One of the people charged in Payne's death was his daily guide as he traveled throughout the city of Buenos Aires. The second suspect, one of those hotel workers. And the third, as we suspected, was the alleged drug dealer. So this is going to be interesting. And the final good news at this moment in time is that suicide has been ruled out. Now, let's catch the rest of this story. The tragic and high-profile death of musician Liam Payne on October 16, 2024 has raised significant questions about the guy's passing. Payne, who rose to fame as part of the British-Irish boy band One Direction, was found dead after falling from his hotel balcony in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The evidence shows he suffered more than 25 injuries to his body, and it also revealed that he'd consumed an illegal narcotic concoction called pink cocaine. Let's talk about the 4 things that law enforcement has to consider in this kind of investigation. Hey everyone, welcome to Profiling Evil, and thanks for hitting that like and subscribe button. Please give us a thumbs up, share us with your friends and your contacts. And by the way, grab the link to this video and share it on your social media outlets. The topic has a broader value than simply true crime exploration. You see, it contains 4 simple things to think about when looking at suspicious deaths, and it highlights the danger of using illegal and unprescribed narcotics. The autopsy report details a substance known as pink cocaine in his system, and it reveals that Payne had sustained 25 injuries to various parts of his body, including his head, chest, abdomen, and limbs. Now, given the complexity of this case, let's consider all of the possible causes of death, including natural causes, accidental death, suicide, and homicide. And I'd like to examine these 4 categories and apply theoretical frameworks to the specific evidence that's been released publicly in this case, including Payne's behavior, his recent drug use, CCTV footage, and the involvement of hotel staff members. Now, this analysis is going to explore whether the evidence aligns more closely with any one of these possible causes, considering potential interactions between Payne's environment, his mental state, and his relationship in the days leading up to his death. And to lay the groundwork, I'm going to cover 4 areas to consider in death investigations, and each of these areas is complex and intertwined with the victim's situation, circumstances, and of course, the environment. So the first one I want to talk about is death by natural causes. Death by natural causes typically occurs from internal biological factors such as disease, organ failure, or other conditions unrelated to external influences. So this is kind of how we describe the death of a very old person, for instance. Now, in Payne's case, There is no evidence that he has pre-existing medical conditions that could have caused his death, at least nothing that I've seen publicly available. Although the presence of drugs could have exacerbated any latent kinds of issues, the severe physical injuries sustained during his fall are currently what's being viewed as the most direct cause of his death. Now, in my opinion, and based on the evidence that I've seen publicly released, I think it's pretty implausible that they could classify this as natural causes, given the external trauma that his body endured and the circumstances. So, let's look at the possibility number 2 of accidental death. Accidental death is caused by unintended external events, often involving miscalculations or recklessness without the intent to cause some kind of harm. Now, in Payne's case, the combination of drug use and that fatal fall suggests that an accident could be plausible. Pink cocaine is known for its powerful psychoactive effects, and it's conceivable that under its influence, Payne might have lost control, either misjudging the proximity to the edge of the balcony or the possibility that he overtly acted while in an impaired state. Felt like he was bulletproof. In fact, I talk about it on Law and Crime. Let's watch. Was he propelled or thrown off of that balcony, or was he in a drug-induced state and felt like he was bulletproof and stepped off of the balcony? We don't know, and both scenarios have played out in other homicides or death investigations over the course of time. So, well, according to sources, Payne had been acting erratically after his girlfriend, Kate Cassidy, departed Argentina 2 days before his death. Now, there are reports of him being in the lobby of the hotel acting strangely, and on one occasion, the witnesses say that he purposely broke his laptop. As an investigator, I want to know what's on that laptop, and I'd be wanting to evaluate whether there were emails, text messages, or something that he was watching on the laptop that became a precipitating stressor, or something that angered him to the point that he used further alcohol or drugs, or had thoughts of self-harm. Well, importantly, this erratic behavior, coupled with drug use and Payne's reported activities in the bar, suggests that he might have lacked the necessary caution that's needed. That could have increased his risk of an accidental fall. And keep in mind, there was drug paraphernalia found throughout his hotel room, supporting the theory that drug use was leading up to this incident. If Payne's use of pink cocaine impaired his coordination or judgment, it's plausible that his actions on the balcony were unintentional and thus accidental. Reason number 3, death by suicide. A death that's classified as suicide involves the intentional act of ending one's own life. While it's unknown if Payne had a history of mental health issues, or if there were recent signs of depression, certain factors could indicate distress for Payne. His girlfriend's departure from Argentina reportedly left him feeling distressed, and her absence might have amplified feelings of loneliness or emotional instability. Now, it's necessary for Buenos Aires investigators to conduct a full and invasive, and note that I'm not saying interrogation, but an invasive interview of Cassidy to see if there were red flags that could point to his increased stress. Reportedly, Payne's behavior became increasingly erratic after her departure, which, combined with drug use or abuse, could suggest a heightened state of vulnerability. Again, we don't know. We're going by what's reported publicly. However, suicide remains a challenging theory to substantiate without any clear indication of a suicidal intent. And frankly, my question is, are there any indications that he was suicidal? This is why it's so important to collect digital information from his phone, his laptop, any writings in his room, and that 911 call from hotel staff and any interactions with hotel staff. The CCTV footage might provide some insight into his final hours, potentially shedding light on whether Payne exhibited any signs of an intent to commit self-harm, this premeditated action. So number 4, when the first 3 possibilities don't provide answers, we need to consider the possibility of homicide. Homicide, or death caused by another party's intentional actions, is a theory that law enforcement investigators have to consider when there's evidence of foul play or deliberate actions leading to Payne's death. Now, several elements in Payne's case could warrant suspicion of homicide. It's going to be important to focus on the CCTV footage and the 2 hotel staff members that are being scrutinized to kind of see if there's possible involvement by third parties in his death. Speculation has arisen that hotel staff may have interacted as an intermediary between Payne and local drug dealers who facilitated his access to the pink cocaine concoction. Now, if hotel employees were indeed involved in providing drugs, it raises questions about their potential influence on Payne's actions that night. Could these staff members have acted in a way that directly or indirectly endangered Liam Payne's life? Alternatively, were there any forms of coercion, either through threats, manipulation, anything like that, that might have led to Liam Payne ending up on the balcony's edge? Such theories would be speculative at best at this point, but given the presence of drugs and evidence of staff involvement, homicide can't be dismissed without a thorough examination of all of the evidence, including the CCTV footage and witness testimonies. Now, I think there are a couple of key pieces of evidence that have been publicly shared that I want to just talk about for a moment and kind of bring into focus as we talk about these possibilities. First, the illegal drug use and the paraphernalia. The discovery of pink cocaine and the paraphernalia in the room strongly suggests that Payne was consuming the substance in the lead up to his death. Now, this raises questions of whether his altered state influenced his behavior on the balcony, or if he was compelled to the balcony. The drug's intensive psychoactive effects might have impaired his judgment, lending weight to both the accidental and suicidal theory. Now, if Payne had little experience with the substance, he may have underestimated its effects, leading to risky behaviors or emotional instability. We know through his self-admissions that he had problems in the past with alcohol and illegal drug consumption. Well, now he's alone in Buenos Aires. It's possible that he turned to the drug in a moment of weakness. And it's also possible, and we've got to consider this possibility, that the drug could have been slipped to him by somebody initially. As evidenced in the room, though, it was clear that he was fully involved as this thing went on. I don't know whether there was a party going on or what, but there was broken furniture, crack pipes, drug paraphernalia. I believe personally that he was fully invested and engaged by the time his death actually occurred. Now, a second focal point. Let's talk about the behavioral indicators and that 911 call for a moment. Payne's behavior in the days preceding his death and that 911 call from hotel staff suggests that he'd been exhibiting unusual or concerning behavior to people there. His erratic actions could have stemmed from drug influence, could have been emotional distress, or it could have been a combination of both. We also know from a video that he posted online that the musician was in town to see his former band buddy performing in a concert. He stated online that he hoped to talk with that former band member and clear up a few things. I thought that was really interesting. What were the issues he was trying to clear up? And that call placed by hotel staff, It might provide insight into what transpired immediately before Payne's fall off the balcony, potentially revealing signs of stress or an altercation with somebody else. Focal point number 3, Cassidy's departure. I think it deserves exploration. The timing of his girlfriend's departure raises important questions. Leaving Argentina just 2 days before his death, his girlfriend reported that she was homesick and she just kind of liked to get out and get going again. Now, her early departure from what was initially planned as a 5-day trip turning into a 2-week trip suggests a possible strain was in their relationship, some incompatibility between the two. But I don't know, I'm only theorizing here. But her absence might have contributed to Payne's emotional state, possibly intensifying his feelings of abandonment or loneliness. Now, I'm not saying this to place any blame on the girlfriend, only to suggest that the motivation for her departure should be explored and might provide answers as to some of the decisions that he would later make. While Cassidy's departure could theoretically be a neutral factor, her absence may have exacerbated Payne's potential feelings of isolation. If he was already engaged in risky behavior, her departure could have influenced him to just say whatever and give up and then, of course, lose all self-control in the days that followed. Now, number 4, what's the involvement of the hotel staff and what do we learn from the CCTV footage? Now, authorities are reportedly focused on 2 hotel staff members and that CCTV footage, which could reveal interactions between Payne, the staff, or any other suspicious activities that took place in the hotel. If staff were indeed the intermediaries in Payne's drug acquisitions, the mule, they might have played a direct or an indirect role in his subsequent actions. The staff's involvement raises questions about Payne's access to the pink cocaine. Are they the ones that led him to those who were selling it? Was there involvement beyond mere facilitation, and potentially were they pressuring or encouraging him to consume the drug in a manner that endangered his life? I'd really like to know your thoughts on this video, folks, and I hope you've enjoyed this exploration into the aspects of death investigations. If you do enjoy it, consider joining the Profiling Evil Academy as a way to support our efforts. You can find the link down below, and you can also check out the Academy playlist and learn more about the criminal justice investigations process. And before I add some final thoughts on this case, I want to take a moment to encourage you to go to our website at profilingevil.com and sign up for our digital newsletter, The Bolo. That stands for Be on the Lookout, and the only way you get it is if you sign up for it. And while you're there, take advantage of my special offer to personalize any of my books that you buy through the Profiling Evil website. The holidays are quickly approaching, and it's a perfect time to pick up 2 of my favorites, Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult, or She Knew No Fear. Now, Deceived is about a cult that I broke up and the rescue of 32 children. It talks about cult behaviors, how they recruit, and how they keep people involved. She Knew No Fear tells the story of my great-great-grandmother who was murdered in 1891 and how I solved her homicide 130 years later. Check out the books and I'll make sure to sign them to you, and we'll get them shipped to you free anywhere in the U.S. And now let's get back to the video. Based on available evidence, accidental death and suicide appear to be, in my opinion, the most plausible causes of Liam Payne's death. We can't entirely rule out homicide given the potential involvement of third parties. The powerful effects of pink cocaine could have induced disorientation and impulsive behavior in Liam Payne, increasing his risk of a fatal accident. Alternatively, if the singer was experiencing emotional turmoil and impaired judgment, suicide has to remain a possibility, particularly if he felt isolated and alone in those final days of his life. The investigation into Payne's death has to be considered into the interplay of substance abuse, mental health issues, and external influences, including the role that hotel staff might have played. Ultimately, things like the evidence found, CCTV footage, and further police interviews with involved parties may shed critical light on Payne's final moments, offering additional clarity on this tragic incident. Well, I'd like to know your thoughts, and I hope that you'll put them down below. And remember, you can find Profiling Evil on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you like audio podcasts, folks, make sure you're checking out Profiling Evil podcasts on your favorite podcast platform. And make sure you go to Law and Crime and check out my interview on this case with Sierra Gillespie. We'll see you soon at the next crime scene.